Hello and welcome back to India on 99.94, your home of Indian cricket content on the web, on your podcast app, on YouTube, and via the 99.94 app, of course, as well. I'm your host, Nikesh Rugani, as always, alongside my co-host, Sarah Waris of Wisdom. And Sarah, only one place to start, really. India versus Pakistan, the Super 12 stage of the T20 World Cup. We've waited and waited, and we've known this moment was coming for quite some time, and it's almost upon us, and the tension is already building, isn't it?
Yeah, it's building, especially after the defeats against Pakistan last year and then in the Asia Cup this year. It's almost like, we aren't as complacent as before, and it's expected to be a close match. So everyone is excited.
Yeah, well, expected to be a close match. It rarely is, isn't it? Between India and Pakistan, it goes one way or the other quite comprehensively, really. Usually at ICC tournaments in India's favour, but as we saw in the last World Cup, as you mentioned, in the UAE, Pakistan 152 without loss, just chased down those runs pretty easily in the end, and India's batting just wasn't up to the mark. Having said all that, India have had decent prep. They've been winning bilateral series, whether it be T20s or ODIs, for fun in the last 12 months or so. And they continue to look good on paper. The batting's taken this different approach since the last World Cup as well. Given all that, let's talk about the Indian 11, the 11 that we think is going to start on Sunday, which you would assume would be the strongest 11, according to them. I'll give you my top four. I don't think there's any surprise in the top four. You'll probably
Mm.
agree with me, and we could probably swiftly move on. Rohit Sharma, KL Rahul, Virat Kohli, Suryakumar Yadav. Agreed?
Yeah, no doubt.
It
Yeah.
goes without saying, doesn't it? No,
Yeah.
no dramas there in the top four. And then comes the interesting bit, doesn't it? Maybe not the personnel, but the order in which they bat, maybe the personnel as well. So you've got 5, 6, 7. You've got to fit Hardik in there somewhere. Does he
Mm.
come in at 5? Do you put in somebody else ahead of him at 5? There's no Jadeja, of course, so that makes it tricky in terms of who plays there. There's uh, there's different options, aren't there? There's Deepak Hooda, for example,
Yeah.
who could come in. DK, does he bat very low down? Does he bat at 7? Does he get pushed up to 6? Maybe even 5, depending on the situation of the game. Where do you see them going with that middle order?
It's going to be Hardik, TK, and Akshar. I don't think there's debate over that. Pant will have to sit out. With regards to where they bat, I think instead of a fixed batting position, it's going to depend on the number of overs left. According to that, because this is how India have used TK also. Instead of sending him at either 5, 6, or 7, they have kept the last 4 or 5, not even 5, the last 4 overs for him technically. So I don't think it's going to depend on, okay, now India third wicket down, DK you go in or Hardik you go in. It's going to depend on the overs left, I think. And um, it's actually not a bad move. It shows that Indian team is being flexible with regards to it. So yeah, I don't have any issues with it. The issue remains, the number seven. Okay, yeah, Akshar will be there. He's no doubt about that. That he's a fantastic bowler. But with his batting, is he good enough to be your number seven, especially in Australia? Where the boundaries will be a little longer. So yeah, is he your best number seven? But then India don't have any options. So I think that's what
Yeah,
will happen with.
that's the issue, isn't it, with the middle order? Really, when you look at 5, 6, 7, you want your number 7 to be a proper all rounder to contribute with the bat. Um, in high pressure situations, in big tournaments, you might well lose a few early wickets. You're playing against the best in the world, and that could happen against Pakistan. Particularly if Shaheen gets going early on and we lose a few early ones, we need to bat as deep as possible. That to me seems like a big flaw in this side Akshar is capable, and some would argue in T20 cricket just as capable as Jadeja. Looking at the stats and the IPL records and all that kind of stuff, there's not much difference really. Akshar has batted in the top three sometimes in franchise cricket, so he is capable. You're right, bigger boundaries, but then there's the opportunity to knock it around and get those
Mm.
twos and threes, perhaps, which isn't such a bad thing either. Um, it's just, yeah, it just feels a bit light to me coming in
Yeah.
with Akshar at number seven, and does that in turn then put that extra pressure on the top order, and can they play as freely as they have been doing of late? That's another key question, because it's all well and good doing it in India in conditions that you're used to and on good batting tracks. And I'm not saying there won't be good batting tracks in Australia, but there's a lot of pace. Short deliveries might come into it. Not everyone in that Indian top order is comfortable facing short, fast bowling, or the seam as well. The stitching, the seams have changed on these Kookaburra balls. It swings more than it used to early on. So it's not just going to be one over of swing, it might be four overs of swing early on. So then you've got swing from Shaheen, for example, at high pace early on, and one or two others. And we're not just talking about Pakistan, but even going through the tournament, that could prove to be an issue in terms of playing that brand of cricket. Do you think? Do you think that's going to be in the mindset of the top order now, that hang on a minute, we've been playing this way successfully for 12 months, but we don't bat that deep. So maybe we just want to take one or two less risks in the power play. Do you think that might be a thing?
Uh, yeah. Also, with Harshal possibly not playing, the tail, isn't someone who like there probably will be Chehel, there'll be Shami, and there'll be Arshdeep, and Bhuvi can bat around a bit, but you can't expect the tail to chip in consistently also. So yeah, the top order. I hope though that the top order backs its strengths, and they don't take on the pressure that, oh my god, we don't have a, a a strong enough number seven, or our batting is possibly till only number six. I hope that they back their strengths, because they've been playing this way in the last 1 year or so. So because if they take on that pressure, initially up front, that okay, this is we are anyway lighter, then it's just going to create that kind of a mess and clutter in their heads, and possibly they won't be able to bat the way that they have been batting. So I just hope that yeah, just back the natural game. And I think the middle order is strong enough with Surya Kumar, Hardik, and Dinesh Karthik to, even if the top order fails now, they'll be able to, control the game and stick around and then go after the shots also. So I think the top order should also, just bat a little more freely, because that is what is going to get you success. Just that fearlessness and being bold up front.
Having said that, though, I've got a feeling that, yeah, you're right. The middle order will probably look like that. Akshar coming in at seven. So there's one spinner who spins the ball away from right-handers into left-handers. You said Jahel will probably be there. I'm not so sure. I think
Yeah.
I've got a hunch that they're going to pick Ashwin, A, for the fact that he just turns the ball the other way. I mean, he can spin it both ways, but he's an off spinner, and then you've got Akshar spinning it the other way. I know they're both not huge turners in this format of the game, and Akshar is not a huge turner generally. He's more of a skidder. Um, I think they'll go that way. And also, just before we came on air, you were talking about the vulnerabilities of Pakistan's top order against off spin as well.
Yeah, so I know that Rohit Sharma and the management of late, they've been picking Ashwin only in teams that have a lot of left-handers, and we've discussed that that a good bowler will do well against right-handers also. And I have this stat, I just randomly was looking it up, and this stat like proves it that Ashwin doesn't only need left-handers to succeed again. So Babar Azam has a strike rate of 111 versus off spin, dot ball percentage of almost 29. Rizwan has a strike rate of 108 versus off spin, dot ball percentage of 32. Against leg spinners, Rizwan's strike rate is 133 and Babur's is close to 130 also. So, if you can get in Ashwin there, you can possibly bowl 1 or 2 overs in the power play and, just slow the game down initially because we know how Pakistan play. Somehow they, yeah, we've spoken a lot about their templates also. A lot has been spoken about their batting approach. So if he can just slow the game down and um, I think India will benefit from that. And also the fact that, okay, India look at Ashwin bowling against left spinners, sorry, against the left-handers. Fagar Zaman will be there. He'll be at number 3. He's a left-hander. Nawaz possibly he'll be at number 4, I think. So again, the left-hander, and then Akshar can come in. So I think Ashwin should be the first pick over Chahal. I don't know what you feel, but yeah,
I think so as well. Given all that as well, I mean, those stats shocked me
yeah,
really. I wasn't expecting it to be quite so low in terms of strike rate for both of those two against off spin and the dot ball percentage as well.
yeah,
It's a massive factor, and the fact that you've just had a quick look at that and you've seen that India have got a whole team of analysts working
yeah.
on these sorts of things, so they would have definitely picked up on this quite some time ago, and I'm sure
But then
it's going to come into their
Ashwin didn't play
thinking.
against Pakistan in the Asia Cup.
True. But then the
Bishnoi
Asia
played. So
Cup,
yeah,
India's men and women both seem to be using the Asia Cup as like an
yeah,
experimental thing, don't they? So who knows? But given all that, given the fact that he bats as well and can potentially be pushed even further up ahead of Akshar Patel, given the
yeah,
situation, depending on who's bowling and all those sorts of things, I think it's a great option. So if it was us, we'd probably go with Usher in 8.
yeah.
And then the 3 quicks, it looks as though it's going to be Shami, Bhuvi, and Arshdeep, doesn't it? Agreed?
Yeah, it should be that Harshal isn't the best death bowler. Plus, Shami just brings in that experience which the Indian team wanted, plus that pace. So, I think, yeah, that's the 11 for me. Bhuvi, Arshdeep, and Shami.
All right. So just to recap then, so this is what we think the 11 will be for India in that first match then. So Rohit Sharma, captain, opening the batting with KL Rahul, Virat Kohli 3, Suryakumar Yadav 4, possibly Hardik at 5, DK 6, Akshar Patel 7, Ashwin at 8, we think. And then it'll be Shami probably 9. I mean, would it? No, maybe Bhuvi 9, Shami 10, Arshdeep 11. So that's what we think will be the India team to line up against Pakistan in the Super 12 stage. We'll discuss the Pakistan team in just a few moments as well. We'll take a short break here. And off the back of that, we'll discuss not just their top order, but perhaps what bowling combination they'll go in with, and their resurgence of their middle order as well, which has been a concern for some time. See you in a moment.
You're listening to Cricket's Conversation on 99.94. Whatever your team, we have the show for you on podcast, YouTube, or on the 99.94 app. We have India, England, South Africa, West Indies, and now Sri Lanka covered. If you want to find us, the best way is to follow us on social media at 9994DM by downloading the 9994 app or Google 99.94 on podcast. We speak cricket.
So Pakistan then, quite predictable at the top. Babar and Rizwan, that partnership which will probably go on for many years, has been successful. There have been lots of critics about strike rates and these sort of things, and they're both players who can strike at better than they do in this form of the game, which is the puzzling thing, I suppose. I mean, sometimes, look, they don't need to hit the 140s, 150s, 160s because they're winning matches anyway. They've got a very good bilateral record whenever those two have been opening the batting, and they win more matches than they lose, and they've been pretty successful at it. You know, you saw what they did against India in the last World Cup. They didn't really need to break a sweat in making that 152. But the issue is, I suppose, if they eat up a lot of deliveries and then there's not enough time for that middle order to come in, so they will open the batting. You'd think Fakhar Zaman, who was just drafted in quite late into the official squad, just before the deadline of the 15th of October, will come in at number 3. That's the combination they've gone in with in these tournaments. That's the combination they used at the last World Cup as well. Didn't need to bat against India, of course. And then comes the middle order, which hasn't really had that much of an opportunity. They don't get to face a lot of deliveries because of the way the top 2 and the top 3 tend to play. But, the likes of Nawaz, for example, has sort of come onto the scene and done really well with both bat and ball. And they've shown, haven't they, in recent times that they can strike it pretty well. And as long as they get that platform where the first 10 overs have been played out perhaps by Babar and Rizwan, that they can really come and tee off. And they've been doing really well, haven't they? Shadab Khan has been pretty successful of late as well. And it's a real area of improvement for Pakistan in recent times.
Yeah, and Shadab Khan at number 4, I think it's going to be a good position for him because, we spoke about the troubles of Babar and Rizwan against spinners, against off spinners, but so obviously the overall struggles against, they struggle against spinners overall. Shadab Khan, on the other hand, has a strike rate of 150 against spinners. So, somehow he can do the role which Surya Kumar Yadav does for India. Kohli and Rohit, they have their struggles against spin, but then Surya Kumar just comes in and starts hitting, which is what Shadab Khan also did when he batted at number 4 in the recent Tri Series. So, you know what? It's such a luxury for Pakistan to have the kind of talent that they do, in the middle order, especially. There's Khush Dil Shah also, there's Asif Ali also, there's Haider Ali also. So, Nawaz, obviously, we spoke about Nawaz. So, they can just pick and choose whoever they want to send in, and most of them have done well recently. So, yeah, there's a lot of focus on Babar and Rizwan, and not without reason. They've also shown that they can bat with a like more aggressively in the one match against England. They scored 200 odd without they Pakistan didn't lose a wicket, and so they can bat aggressively. It's just why can't they do it more consistently? But then the middle order comes in and just tees off from ball 1. And so it's going to be a huge challenge for India, and especially how they manage their resources, because possibly Akshar Patel can be saved, like Rohit Sharma can save Akshar Patel to bowl against the right-handers, but then what if Pakistan sends a left-hander in Nawaz up the order? So, that's a good way to toy with India's, tactics and all, and that's the whole reason why this match is going to be a little more interesting than probably, hopefully, the last World Cup encounter.
Yeah, well, hopefully it is, and hopefully it's a closer contest than it was last time as well. I just sort of throw back to previous generations, and it was always sort of the Pakistani bowling against the Indian batting. That was usually the battle, and it's not to be disrespectful to the Indian bowlers of the time or the Pakistani batters, but Pakistan as a batting unit in those days, they had one or two guys, say the Syed Anwar at the top of the order and maybe the Inzi in the middle, who might strike fear into the opposition. There was no one else who was consistently world class at that time. I'm going back to sort of very early 2000, let's say the 03 World Cup. Yunis Khan was still quite young onto the scene and was having his struggles at sort of nailing down a place in the team at that point. There was, Yusuf Yohana as he was then, and then Mohammed Yusuf later became known as, wasn't quite on the scene. And it just didn't strike fear into you, that batting lineup. And, you had Afridi in and out the side, but he was more of a spinner who bowled a bit. So there wasn't really that fear. Now they seem to have got a unit together that can be successful, particularly in T20s, like they've shown. Look, in the longer form of the game, they've still got a bit of a way to go, you'd feel, to have that consistent, solid batting combination. But they've got a good batting combination now, as have India, of course, in this format. And their bowling unit seems to be, at the moment, more settled in terms of the lack of injuries, obviously, with Shaheen coming back. India have got Bumrah out, which is a massive issue for them. I just think overall India probably a little bit better in the batting department, and Pakistan are probably a little bit more ahead
Yeah.
than India are with the bat, with the ball, seeing as they've got Shaheen back as well, and that could give them the edge. And it's not just Shaheen, is it? I think in terms of they're going to pick 3 quicks, and when we say quicks, I mean genuine quicks, not just sort of medium fast bowlers, all 90-mile-an-hour bowlers. Shaheen's going to play, and I think they're going to go with a combination of Haris Rauf, who has to play in this form, and probably Naseem
Yeah.
Shah. Would you
Yeah.
agree with that?
Yeah, I
And
agree with
that's
that. Yeah.
pretty tasty, isn't it?
Yeah, it's always been, India Pakistan has always been India's batting versus the bowling, and versus Pakistan's bowling. So, no disrespect to any department, but that's always like over the years, because Pakistan have genuine quicks, not like, uh, 2 out of India's fast medium pacers. They'll be in the 130s, Arshdeep and Bhuvi, while Pakistan, they'll have those quick bowlers. Yeah. So, and Rohit, we spoke last episode how Rohit anyway struggles against left armers. KL Rahul also doesn't have the best record against left armers. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting match. Virat Kohli has an excellent record against Pakistan in the World Cup, and I hope there's another knock waiting in the wings for him.
Yeah, well, that would be the icing on the cake, really. I mean, just to hark back to the Pakistani bowling as well. You mentioned the genuine quicks, and they do have a lot more pace in their department, particularly in this World Cup squad, than India. Obviously, Bumrah is a big miss, genuine pace and just the genuine skill that he has as well, the best in the world across all 3 formats. It's weird though, because if you look at in Test cricket, Haris Rauf isn't really a Test bowler. And then Naseem Shah has just kind of come onto the scene. Might go on to have a successful Test career. We don't know, but it's only really Shaheen who's there and consistently performing well in Test cricket. But then when you look at India over the last 3 or 4 or 5 years in Test cricket, they've had more pace and more skill, because you've then got the likes of Shami, who we don't consider as one of our better T20 bowlers, although he's in the squad. He was bowling, 90 miles an hour. You've got Bumrah bowling 90 miles an hour. You've got Umesh Yadav bowling 90 plus as well. And then you had Ishant for a long time. Didn't quite have the pace, was getting, longer in the tooth than the others, but had the genuine skill and the bounce and the great record against left-handers and all the rest of it. So, genuinely fearsome Test bowling attack, but that hasn't quite translated.
Siraj.
Yeah, Siraj as well. He's got the ability to bowl over 90 miles an hour as well. But you then bring them into T20 cricket, and they haven't quite had that same impact, all of these guys, apart from Bumrah, really. They've tried Umesh Yadav, didn't quite work out. Shami's been in and out. He's back in. Hopefully he'll have a successful tournament. But without Bumrah, it's just the one guy, really, who's got the genuine pace, who's going to be in the starting 11. Look, it's not all about pace. I mean, we could have just gone Umran Malik route, and it would have been exciting, but could have backfired, and he could have leaked a lot of runs. It can happen in this form. So yeah, it's interesting the makeups of both of the fast bowling stocks, and how Pakistan's have been very successful in T20 cricket, whereas for India, it's not been the bowlers with the most pace who have been the most successful. It's been the likes of Bhuvi and Arshdeep now coming into the side, and Deepak Chahar, and all these guys who just sort of bowl that sort of fast medium, low 80 miles an hour, but can swing it, can bowl at the death, whatever it might be, different skill sets that they've got. So interesting makeups, but I think it's going to be, particularly if India bat first, straight away, all those memories are going to flood back of like Wasim Akram and Waka Yunis versus Sourav Ganguly and Sachin Tendulkar at the top of the order in white ball cricket. It's going to be that sort of battle again if India bat first, even if they bat second, to be honest. If Pakistan can post a decent total, there's going to be huge pressure. And, we look forward to it. We live for these moments. We live for these big matches. And, Pakistan have certainly got a strong side, as have India. It's just whether or not India's bowling can be up to the mark. And that is, I suppose, the big question, isn't it? And talking of pressure, we're going to be discussing that in just a moment after another short break.
If you love the language of cricket and want more, then head over to the 99.94 app and you can hear all of our podcasts and cricket commentary. We're adding new shows all the time and covering cricket series from all over the world. Be the first to hear all of our announcements by following us on social media at 9994DM. Welcome to Cricket's Conversation.
So, Sarah, we've talked about the two sort of makeups of the side that we think are going to go into the match on Sunday. Touched on pressure as well. I mean, there's always pressure, isn't there? We've discussed this before. The media pressure, the bookies' pressure on India. And I'm talking about legal betting, by the way, and in terms of being favourites and, amongst the top 2 or 3 favourites in every tournament that they go into, probably since 2011. And they've not won anything, not an ICC tournament, since 2013, that Champions Trophy in England. So it's been a long time coming, but despite that, they're always right up there. There's the added pressure of playing against Pakistan. There's the added pressure as well, the added tension, I should say, of India not touring Pakistan for the Asia Cup now next year, like we discussed on the previous episode. That's going to fire up the Pakistanis as well, you would have thought. And I mean, it just seems like there's a bit more tension around this one than there has been in recent times. Again, in these matches between India and Pakistan, we saw it at the Asia Cup. Yeah, there was the usual build-up and the hype and all that kind of stuff around both matches, particularly the first one, last year's T20 World Cup. But this time, there's the fact that there's all this other stuff going on with the Asia Cup and Jay Shah and all that. There's the fact that Pakistan beat India for the first time in an ICC World Cup in the last tournament in the UAE. So there's that enormous weight of expectation and pressure on India from the media, from the fans, from everyone, from themselves, from their own family members probably and friends. It just seems like there's a bit more this time, doesn't there?
Yeah, and again, the timing of, Jay Shah's comments and the whole Asia Cup fiasco. Why do you have to do it before the World Cup? And obviously, timing, they won't care. They won't care that, this is the World Cup, so we should, probably talk about this after the World Cup ends and all. But that's Indian politics for you. That's how it works. About pressure, it is a huge thing because that's one of the reasons why India have consistently reached the finals. They've reached the semi-finals, finals on a few occasions, but they've just not been able to raise their game. So almost makes me wonder, is India a bilateral winning side and not a championship winning side? Like they win the bilaterals, they do so well, even against a B team, so to say. They consistently do well against different oppositions in different conditions. But against this, like they face the same team in a World Cup or in an ICC event, even the Asia Cup recently we saw, and they somehow just, the problems just double up. It's like one problem, we see one issue pop up, and then the other issue, and then so many more things. So like sort of the Indian team starts unraveling once one issue comes up, and then they're just not able to hide that and uh, cover that up and do better in the other games. And this time the group is going to be a slightly more tricky for India. Netherlands have qualified. We don't know who the other team is. So Netherlands and last year it was Namibia and Scotland and Afghanistan. Netherlands can spring a surprise. Like they're not a minnow. They obviously they are a strong team. So this time the teams, like the group is not going to be as easy as it was last time also. So, just the importance of starting well is double this time, because at least last year they had the option of, okay, one bad game, and then, they had almost three wins guaranteed, so to say, against Afghanistan, Namibia, Scotland. They didn't do well in two matches and were kicked out. But
Well,
yeah,
Afghanistan wasn't a guarantee,
yeah,
was it? I mean, they were playing well. India thumped
yeah,
them,
true.
and it came too late. But
Yeah,
they gave Pakistan a very close run in that one.
yeah.
They gave New Zealand a bit of a scare at one stage as well. So yeah, I get what you're saying about the Netherlands. That
Hmm.
I saw the Netherlands. I was there in person when they beat England at the T20 World Cup way back 2009, I think it was. So they they can spring a surprise. You're
Hmm.
right; they've got experience in their side. They've got players who've played county cricket and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of you know good sort of hard-working mentality about the group as well, and skill as well. So maybe they can spring a surprise. India will be, I mean, the swords will be out, won't they? The knives will be out for the whole India team and the board if they were to lose to somebody like the Netherlands. That would be an absolute disaster. But just based on Sunday's match as well, yeah, huge pressure. But will the match kick off? Just looking at the weather report here for Melbourne, it looks pretty shocking at the moment. I mean, there's a chance of rain all day and well into the evening as well. So yeah, it doesn't look particularly great. I mean, the one saving grace is that I've been to Melbourne and I've been to a couple of matches at the MCG. One of them was India versus South Africa in the 50 over World Cup. Great atmosphere, 87,500 people. Most of them were Indians on that occasion, and it was great. So it would be great to see India Pakistan in that kind of atmosphere with 90,000 people or whatever. Um, but the rain isn't a great look. The one saving grace though is that Melbourne is very weird when it comes to the weather. I mean, you'd be walking down the street, literally, it'd be baking hot, 35 degrees, 40 degrees, sunshine. Within half an hour, the grey clouds come over, it chucks it down. Then it'll go sunny again. Then you'll get hail and sleet for the next hour or so. Then it's just weird. You could have all four seasons in a day in Melbourne, is what I'm saying. The weather just flips and changes as it pleases. So hopefully, given all that, if we do see showers at the MCG, they won't last too long.
ICC
That's
will
all I'm saying.
announce a
Maybe.
reverse reserve day just for India Pakistan. ICC should announce a reserve day for India
Well,
Pakistan.
it's in their interest, isn't it, to
Yeah.
make the money?
Even
Because if that match doesn't go
broadcasters,
ahead,
yeah, just imagine the broadcasters and everyone, and the
yeah.
uh, loss that they'll have
Although
if
the
the match
broadcasters
doesn't
have
go ahead.
paid, they've already paid, haven't they? So the broadcasters will probably lose out, won't they?
Yeah.
The Star Sports of this world, the host broadcasters, because they've already paid over the odds for these ICC tournaments, this package that they've got with the ICC, and it's all based on India playing Pakistan every single time because
Yeah.
that's when they make all their money. And if that doesn't happen, they're going to lose a lot of advertising revenue as well. So we hope it happens, not for those reasons. We
Also,
just want to see the cricket.
yeah, we are talking about the ICC and the broadcasters losing out money. I just saw a tweet where someone said that they've just bought the tickets for India Pakistan. They're flying all the way to Australia for India Pakistan, and what if the match is not held? There'll be so many people like that.
Yep.
So, for their sake, I hope the match is held, and not
I
a
know a
not a
couple of
curtailed
people who
match. Yeah,
I know a couple of people who just literally just going for that match. I
yeah.
mean, it's it's a disaster, isn't it? If you go there, you spend probably a lot of money on the tickets, the
Mhm.
flights, accommodation. I mean, going from the UK, from America, some people from Canada. There's people who literally just be going for this one match, and it's a long way to travel. It's a lot of money spent. Your insurers are not going to cover you for rain at the cricket. You might get a refund on the tickets, which is fine, but your flights and everything else, and the time and the accommodation and everything else. So we just look. We hope it goes ahead. It'll be a great atmosphere if it does, and India desperately just need to kick off this World Cup in style with victory against the arch rivals, and that will calm a lot of nerves. That will probably get Indian fans talking about winning the World Cup and we're back on track and all this, and get them into dreamland. It might not be quite that straightforward, but beating Pakistan is the first step. And yeah, we'll keep across that one for you on Sunday.
What's your prediction?
Oh God, I thought we weren't doing this.
Yeah, I'm
Do
not.
I just go for the reverse psychology and say Pakistan are going to thump India? And then it just goes the other way. Is that?
Do that. But if Pakistan
I'm
win,
not
it'll
sure
be
that
on
will
you.
happen.
If Pakistan win, it'll be on you then.
No. I'm not sure that will happen. Look, I think it will be closer than we've seen in recent times. We all hope for a close contest that India win, of course. I just think India's batting is going to win it for them. Whether that be they bat first and post well over 200, it's just too much for Pakistan, or they just chase down whatever's in front of them. I just think India's batting will win it for them, and it will have to. What do you reckon?
I somehow feel it'll be the bowling which stands out. Somehow, batting. But if the batting does well, it won't really be a surprise. I somehow think it's the bowling. A lot is going against them. Zero expectations from them. Somehow feel the bowling is going to rise up and be the stars. Not only against Pakistan, but throughout the World Cup. So hope. Again, my predictions have come very wrong. I just hope that's not the case.
Here's a prediction then. Ashwin to take 3 for. 3 for
We'll
not
hold
too
you
many.
To that. We'll hold you to that.
3. He might not even play now. Whoever plays, just win. Just win. That's all we want. So we'll keep across that one on Sunday, and we'll have a review episode following that, and hopefully we'll be talking about an India victory. So thank you very much for listening to this preview. Just a reminder that you can get us across all your favourite podcast apps, whether it be on the Apple platform, on Spotify, wherever it is that you listen to your podcasts. You can watch us on YouTube. You can download the 99.94 app. Tell your friends, tell your family, share our podcast far and wide if Indian cricket is what you love. Thanks for listening, and do join us again next time.